All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. And this week we're at episode number 55. We're going to talk about death state of mind. Now, I was thinking back to when I was a young kid. I want to say around 8 or 9 years old, after my mom and dad had separated, and I moved back to Harlem from Staten Island, from building 160. For those of you who are into Wu-Tang Clan, that's the same building that the Wu was from. So shout out to the Wu-Tang Clan. Too young to really know any of them, but you know, it still sounds like a cool part of the story. And you know, back then in Harlem during the summertime, it was the thing to hang out outside. Like that's what you do. You got up in the morning, you bathed, you got a little something to eat, and then by 10 o'clock, you was outside for the whole day. So on this one particular day, the whole block was outside. I mean, everybody's on their stoop, we're playing games, it's hot, it's like July, fire hydrant is on, you know, you get your quarters, and you run around the corner, get you some candy, get your icy or whatever, a quart of water, a bag of chips or something. Come back to the stoop. Chilling. I mean, it's just hot. You ever be outside and it's just like ignorant hot? Like it's so hot that you just like you cussing for no reason. Like it was hot like that. It was just hot. Like just even as a kid, like you it's fun being outside, but you're just like, man, it's so hot. And everybody too lazy to go to the pool, but you just like jump in the sprinkler for a second just to get wet. But like the sprinklers was never like the type of thing where you wanted to stay in it all day. It's just like you just like to run through the sprinkler. It wasn't like the way they make it look like in the movie, like, oh yeah, we're gonna go outside and play in the sprinklers today. Like that was mad whack. Like nobody wanted to do that. I don't know why they put that in movies. Like it was like the thing to do. Only if it was like a block party and you know the traffic was not coming through, or if like before they put the sprinkler caps on the fire hydrant, like if the fire hydrant was actually just running hard and you got like a can and you cut out the top and the bottom, you could like make that bad boy shoot across the street and just mess up cars, like then that was fun. But besides that, you know, it was pretty much pointless. So we all outside, and all of a sudden from 7th Avenue walking to Lenox, you heard some people like just screaming in the background, like, oh my God, like, oh, like, look at him, help him. And I stood up and I looked over the banister of the stoop, and it was a guy, you know, a black guy, you know, and he was holding his head up like toward the sky, and blood was running off the side of his face, right? So everyone's still saying like, help him, help him, help him. And when he passed by, I noticed it looked like he had like little pinholes in his forehead. And I'll never forget it. It looked like 6 dots, right? And it was just blood just like pulsating out of the front of his head, you know? And, you know, I think my grandmother or my mom or somebody was like, go in the house. Like, you know, we don't know if the person's going to come back around shooting and all this other stuff. So we don't want you out here. So I heard that by the time he reached, you know, the next block on Lenox Avenue, that he had collapsed and died from apparently the gunshots, right? So that was the first time that I had actually seen someone that was, you know, injured that bad, you know, just walking around bloody and you know, to hear of a person collapsing and dying, you know, as a kid, you know. And as I grew up, you know, I had some of my buddies that was on the block, you know, and by the time we reached teenagers, like a lot of them started going to jail, you know, just from doing stupid stuff, like just wanting to be down, and you know, whether or not you selling drugs or you sticking people up or you doing something. By the time you hit 16, you getting locked up, right? So I'm looking at these things, and if you're not getting locked up, then you know, again, going back to selling drugs or robbing people, you get caught in the crossfire. So we get one kid that got shot and killed. He's only 15. Another homie, he's 16, he go to jail. Another homie, he's 16, he go to jail. And this is all that I see, right? So I see people hustling. I see people, if they wasn't, busting their gun, they was selling guns or sticking people up or just doing something crazy. And after a while, I started to believe it, right? I started to believe that this is what I'm going to be a part of, right? Because that's all that I see. Mind you, I didn't grow up with my dad. My grandfather was involved in my life. He worked like early in the morning. He would leave about 4 or 5 in the morning. Wouldn't come back home till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But all throughout the day, like I'm just outside, and this, like, those are some of the things that I would see. And then you start hearing things statistically, if I can speak properly, statistically, most African American males would be dead or in jail by the age of 21. So I believed it. I was like, all right, I really ain't got much to look forward to, so I'm not really motivated to do anything. And my dad wound up coming back in my life by the age of, I want to say, about 14 or 15. He just, like, literally out of nowhere just started popping up like, yo, I want to spend time with you, which was kind of cool. And I was already broken by that point. Like, like my dad wasn't around. I seen my friends going to jail and getting shots. I was already programmed to accept death, right? I remember being in high school, and my high school teacher says to me one day, and this is like, I think I was like in 11th grade, and I think I was being like a smart ass or something like that. And he goes, well, oh yeah, the only way you'll make $65,000 is when your mom finds you in a body bag in a lot on Lenox Avenue. Now, mind you, that shit hurt when that old man said it to me. And I say that because, like, literally where I grew up, it was nothing but lots, right? So it was almost like, I don't know if he made that statement based upon what he'd seen on the news or keeping it 100, or if he was really coming around the way to buy drugs. So he's seen like what it was like, because there was no reason for him to be over there. Like, how would he know, like, that's what it looks like on my side of town, right? But for him to make that statement so confidently, yeah, only way your mother only way you gonna make that kind of money is when your mother find you, in a body bag. I'm like, really? So going back to my dad coming into my life, and my dad would always tell me about, like, we working, and he would always just tell me about, like, these cool things that he was going to get, like whether or not it'd be a car or some jewelry or some custom made clothing or, just frivolous things. Like, he would just name, and he'd be like, yo, you know what? Next time I get paid, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna do that. And then he would look over at me and be like, well, what you gonna do with your money? And I'd be looking like, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna save it. And then, I remember looking at him saying to him one day, like, it don't really matter. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna be dead or in jail anyway by the time I'm 21, and I'm 16 now. So that's the next 5 years. It's a wrap. Right? And he's looking at me like, Negro, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what are you talking about? And for a long time, that's just the way I thought. Right? And he would constantly say to me, like, Blee. That's what he called me, Blee. Like, don't think like that, Blee. Like, anything in life you want, you can have it. Right? And I don't know why, but for some reason, I started to believe it. Now, I didn't believe it after the first time that he said it to me. I think that it was because it was like a whole year that I worked with him, and then just hearing it like almost every day, like, you can't think like that. You know, like you gotta be more positive. You gotta, anything you want, like if you see something and it costs $1,000, just know, like, every time you get paid, you're gonna put away $100, and you put away $100 10 times, so you're gonna have $1,000, and you can get that. And you know, you just have to learn how to save and organize your money, and anything in life you want, you can have it. Now, my dad's idol was a pimp, not a pimp, but the whole pimp culture growing up, you know, in the 70s, you know, going over and looking over near Park Avenue on the east side. Like, that's all he saw was like flop pimps. And so from a kid, he always wanted to be a pimp. And I guess the pimp was his idol because they had all the cool shit, right? They had the nice cars, they had the custom clothes, they had the girls, they had the jewelry, they had the money, they had the flash. So for him, that was his driver. Like, that was his motivation. Like, you know, he thought he was gonna get him a couple of hoes and just have it popping, right? But when his senses kicked in, he was like, I can't manipulate a woman's mind into selling her body and giving me money. Like, that's something I can't do. Like, I just don't feel right in doing that. So he still wanted to obtain the material items, but just minus the whole pimpology part of it. You know what I mean? And I think that it was because he had the mind state of whatever you want, just work hard and you can have it. And that's the knowledge that he was kicking to me. Like, yo, whatever you want, you can have it. Now, it's kind of weird that when I think back about it, like, damn, my pops was schooling me on some pimp talk, right? Like, not even on some just like being a righteous black man. It was just like, yo, we seen these pimps have this stuff, and you know, whatever you work for it, like, you can have it. But it worked. Like, after him talking to me for like a year straight, like, I started to believe, like, man, I could really do this. You know, I could really have something in life, and I'm gonna live past 21, and you know, things are gonna look up. And you know, I think it was in episode 53, I think it was No Expectations, right? I told the story of me being sad by my dad telling the story basically to me as a child by saying that he was going to come visit me and never visited me, and how much it hurt me and how much it made me build up a tolerance not to have any expectations in life because I didn't want to feel a sense of disappointment, right? But now at episode 55, the same man that gave me that disappointment also gave me words of encouragement, right? So I only say that to say sometimes your information may come to you from a source that you may not think, but you have to be open to receiving it, right? Because truthfully, he didn't have to say anything when I said, like, yo, I'm not going to be anything past 21. He could have just been like, well, I'm still getting mine, I'm living good. Like, you'll figure it out, you know. Nah, he did the exact opposite. He was like, yo, you're gonna be somebody, you're gonna do good in your life, you know, you're gonna want to attain certain things. And you know, it was sort of like he was a therapist to me, right? Because I would be dumping like all this stuff on him, and he would break it down to me like a big OG and be like, nah, that's not really right, you know, this is the way that you should look at it, right? So he was like the first type of therapist that I had. And this all goes back into the importance of having the right people in your life and positive people in your circle, right? Because I'm pretty sure that while I have the opportunity to speak on a microphone and, you know, to listeners and things like that, there's always that one-on-one conversation that you could have with someone in your private time that could be impactful, right? That can help change a person. You know, sometimes you can't just look at, oh, because this person has made a bunch of mistakes, or they didn't do right by me all my life, so they don't have. No, there is still something to be learned. And I'm glad that I didn't build up that wall like that toward my dad, because he gave me so much life knowledge, right? My grandfather instilled in me the importance of taking care of a family, right? And carrying myself as a gentleman and learning how to shave and tie a tie and shine shoes, all the things that, you know, help present me as a gentleman, right? But my dad gave me the game of hustle, right? The hustle game, like, no, as long as you get up in the morning, you can go get it. And it's yours for taking. And don't let anybody tell you any different, right? And that also goes to say that there's an importance for you to continually surround yourself with people that you want to be like. Now, I'm not saying that I wanted to be like my dad and this whole pimp thing. That's not what I'm saying. But I was fortunate enough to be around him to show me what you could get basically from organizing yourself and working hard. Like, he showed me that. Like, you get up early in the morning, you focus your mind, you organize your day, you go get it. When quitting time is done, and when you get paid, you reward yourself for the hard work that you've done. And that's what he gave me, you know. And also to have people that continually speak positivity into your life, right? So again, shout out to my pops for blessing me with those gems at such a very young age and helping me to change my mind state. I hope that this podcast will be impactful and have a great influence on someone else's life, because that's the whole purpose. You know, it's all about being a servant and helping other people to live to their best potential, right? This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if there's a subject that you would like for us to discuss, you can drop us a line in the comments or send an email to tommydanger@gmail.com. Or if there's a guest that you'd like for us to interview on the show, you can also send that information over to us, and tune in next week.